Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Garden of Sports Podcast Football Week 8 Recap. I'm your host, Zach Gardner, alongside my brother, Jake Gardner.
Hey, everyone.
And today we have a special guest, our cousin, Kyle Forsyth.
Hello, hello.
And so today the three of us are going to go over the top players of the week, talk about notable injuries, discuss some possible trades, and of course we'll do our must-grab waiver wire ads, or our Scoop 'em Up segment. So Thank you for entering the garden. Let's go.
Yeah, I'll take players of the week, quarterbacks. Josh Allen, 29.46 fantasy points. Jimmy G, 27.28 fantasy points. Mike White, 26.1 fantasy points. The Jets savior. Justin Fields, 25.3 fantasy points. Nice bounce back. And then, of course, you got Tom Brady, 25.2 fantasy points. Could finish top 5.
Possibly, yeah. And then we got running backs. Number 1 this week, Michael Carter, 23.2. Darrell Henderson Jr., 21.3 fantasy points. Joe Mixon, 21.1 fantasy points. Nice to see him start to do something. Elijah Mitchell, 19.7 fantasy points. And then Austin Eckler, 18.4 fantasy points.
Yeah, Elijah Mitchell come back to form, so we'll talk about him later as well. And wide receivers, A.J. Brown, 21.5. That's another guy finally coming to form, hopefully.
Yeah, this is like 3 good weeks now.
I think it's 2 in a row of plus 20.
Yeah.
Michael Pittman Jr., 20.6 fantasy points. Chris Godwin, 20 fantasy points. Robert Woods, 17.7 fantasy points. And Cooper Kupp, 17.5. So probably saw that one coming with that matchup. But
yeah.
I digress.
And then tight ends. Brace yourself for these names, everybody.
Yeah, it's a weird week for the tight ends.
The old Pat Freiermuth, 10.4 fantasy points. I started him this week.
Yeah, right. Yeah, get the fuck out of here, dude.
Brevin Jordan, 10.1 fantasy points. Jesse James, 9.8 fantasy points.
Hey, people did start that Freiermuth guy. People picked him up 3.3% before this week.
Wow.
Yeah. Ebron was out with what did I have him on here with? He was out with an injury on Thursday.
The 18-team leagues grabbed him, Zach.
With a name like Freiermuth, he has to be good.
Yeah.
T.J. Hawkinson came fourth, 8.9 fantasy points, and then Jeff Swaim, 8.3 fantasy points. Those are the tight ends.
Yeah, super weird week. A bunch of the big names just busted. No other way to put it. Biggest tight end name at the top is, Conk, but everybody makes fun of him in the fantasy podcast. Dude, this is horrible.
Very weird week.
Jared Cook at 2.5. That's like the biggest name.
Wow.
Going down the list right now.
Well, I find it funny because it's like, especially like in Chicago, the least known tight end out of all of them actually was the one to catch a touchdown this weekend. You know, you have Jimmy Graham who's injured, but then you have Cole Kmet, and you have like 3 other ones that they have because they have like 8 total on the roster. And of course it's Jesse James, who I feel like I never see on the field or never gets any playing time or anything. And he's out there making a diving grab from Justin Fields. So yeah. Just very, very odd. Besides Hawkinson being up there and maybe Goddard, the rest of like the names, especially in like the top 10, are kind of like, okay, it's definitely either a bye week, injuries, or it's just a fluke.
Yeah, seriously.
Jeez, weird times. Notable injuries. I will run through this. A lot has actually happened. I thought it was minor until I really dove in. So Kyler Murray, medial ankle sprain is what they're calling it. It was after the game. They said he had this, and they're hopeful, since it was a Thursday night game, that he'll be good for next Sunday. So something to keep an eye on. Dak Prescott, calf. Obviously, he was inactive tonight. Sunday night, that's when we're recording, people. Julio Jones, hamstring, ruled out for Sunday as well. So his just seems like it's becoming a lost year for him. But And he's got at this point, he's got no trade value. So you're either just holding them or you're just dropping them for somebody else to have the pain. But Corey Davis, hip, was inactive for Sunday against the Bengals. Antonio Brown, ankle, missed his second week. I mean, we talked about this last week. They're obviously just holding him out through the bye, which is this next week, so that he's fully healthy. We talked about that with Gronk, too. They just want them for the playoffs. They know they're going for the Super Bowl. So,
well, Gronk was in today.
He did play?
He was in the first quarter, and then I didn't see when he went out because then he was then back on the sideline out of his pads. But he went, he tried to get a few passes, and he was like out within the first quarter. I think he was only out for maybe like one drive, and then he was standing on the sidelines without his pads on. So I don't know if he was like re-injured. I don't think he re-injured anything, but maybe it was like and then you're done if you feel anything. So I don't know. Right. He's definitely someone to keep an eye on
because cracked ribs.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Jeez.
Well, that sucks. If you were holding him this whole time, I mean, yeah, he's like 93% owned, so people were. So that's not. Yeah, we'll see the update on that. Christian McCaffrey, hamstring. They said he's on track to return week 9, but he also hasn't taken any reps, is what I read. So, I mean, it's still up in the air. They said on track, but we'll see what they do with him. Calvin Ridley just announced today, this morning actually, Personal has decided to step away from football to focus on mental health. So, best wishes. But for fantasy, that was probably your wide receiver 1 when you drafted him. So you're kind of in trouble right now.
Yep.
Because you were waiting for that big breakout, and it never really came. Chris Carson, neck. You probably were also holding this guy this whole time he's been out, and now they said he's in danger of missing the rest of the season.
Which really stinks for Seattle because they need playmakers badly, especially with Wilson being out right now. I mean, their run game is depleted. Their quarterback, Geno Smith, was far better today, and I think Geno Smith actually finished with like 22 fantasy points. He threw a couple of touchdowns to Metcalf, and then was hitting Lockett all day long. Lockett actually overtopped Metcalf this week with fantasy points, which I feel like hasn't happened since like week 2 when Lockett had like 27 and 2 touchdown catches. But they're in need of playmakers, and the fact that Carson might be out, man, that's a huge blow to them because they're just down so many of their big guys that they have to score points.
Yeah, it's crazy. They're like it's like a shell of that offense without the running back and quarterback.
And when they first announced the neck, you're like, oh, he tweaked his neck. They're putting him on IR or the short term for 3 weeks, and he'll be back. They just want to make sure he's good. And then it's just they said he hasn't taken the turn, so
damn.
It's just it's not good because that was probably your running back 2. So I mean, you've obviously been making moves if you own him since then to cover for him, but now you really got to think about making a trade because you were probably just trying to hold out for him.
Right.
James Robinson suffered a bruised heel, and we do not know the extent of the injury. I mean, this is coming right after
big sad
those games. So we'll see what happens with him. But yeah, could be a buy low. George Kittle set to return week 9. Sounds like there were no setbacks, and if you held him, you got to be happy with that, especially since he was like a top 4 drafted tight end.
Yeah.
Jamal Williams' thigh was a late inactive for Sunday's game, so we'll wait on more news on that. I guess it wasn't good enough to go. Miles Sanders' ankle was placed on injured reserve Saturday, so a lot of people already grabbed Gainwell, and then obviously that didn't work out, but we'll get more into it.
Okay.
But that means Sanders is going to miss at least 3 weeks, if not more, and we already knew they weren't a fan of him, so they don't care. Sam Darnold, concussion, will be evaluated this week. So hopefully that's not too bad.
And then Jameis Winston, too, was out with then he had to get carted. He was walked off the field, went into the tent, and then had to get on a cart. He got horse collar tackled from behind.
Oh, God.
Went down real funny on his left knee, and it did look, it went sideways pretty good.
Oh, God.
So they, not the worst I've ever seen, but definitely you watched and you're like, yikes. So he came out of the medical tent and got right on the cart, and they took him back in the locker room. And then Trevor Siemian was the one that finished up and ended up coming out with the win against Brady.
Wow.
behind a big defensive push by the Saints. So, obviously that's another big one to look at. I don't think Winston is very kept in leagues. But at the same time, I mean, he's definitely controlled his turnover ratio far more than he was, and he's been playing a lot better, I feel like. So if you guys, especially if with people down with injuries and bye weeks and stuff, I mean, that's a blow to have to lose a guy like that.
Yeah, for sure. Wow, I didn't. Yeah. Hopefully he's okay.
You might have to grab another shitty bench QB. So
yeah,
listen up.
which we know that there's not a whole lot.
Yeah, yikes.
So I had down some of like the craziest like stories of the day, like for recaps. The Jets offense. Can we talk about the Jets offense and what they did today? Have you guys
best in the league?
The total spread of everyone in the offense?
Yeah.
No.
So the Jets offense, Carter and Johnson, the running backs, got 32.2 and 19.6 points, which this is all full PPR, by the way, points wise.
Yeah.
Then the QB, Mike White, who made his first NFL start, he's held in 0.6% of leagues right now. 37 for 45, 405 yards, 3 TDs, 2 picks, for 27 points. And then you had 3 wide receivers, Crowder, Moore, and Berrios at 16.4, 13.1, and 19.3, finishing off by the tight end Croft at 10 points. That's all one game. All of that is one game that they had all of these people. So basically, if you played anybody from the Jets, which I don't know why you necessarily would besides the running backs, because they lost 54-13 last week against New England. And they looked horrible. And you had a brand new QB coming in for a first start. So if you played any of them, you got rewarded this week, which is like a rarity, I feel like, for a team in their position. You know, going up against Cincinnati, who just took down Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens to take full control of the conference. So it's like, it's a really weird week, but that was incredible to me how many points each of them scored on offense today.
That's crazy. That's like the whole of offense they've scored up to this point. It seems like
honestly, though.
the actual next Tom Brady, right here.
yeah, right.
This is it. Mike
One
White.
game he's being titled.
I could see it. Scoop him up.
Scoop him up, baby.
Okay, all right. Maybe one more start, and then I'll put in the waivers. All right.
Now the defense has got film.
For sure. And then the other one that I had that I thought was really funny was Michael Pittman Jr., who actually has been really outstanding this week, going up against Tennessee. Tough matchup.
Yeah.
Going through, they had said on like the Yahoo app when they were talking about him, they were like, "Oh, play him as a wide receiver 3 or maybe a flex, but this is a tough matchup for him." Even though he's gone up against tough opponents and done fine, he had 2 touchdowns in the first quarter, and he finished with 30.6 points. So always a reminder that when you are reading on your fantasy apps, when you're reading the stuff about him, take it with a grain of salt. Go to other places, look at his previous games, look at like the defensive standings of like the person that they're playing, because I feel like they'll say stuff about guys, and it'll also go the other way. They'll say good things about a player, so you either play him or not play him based on the person's opinion, and then they do the exact opposite of what they're saying. You know, he's absolutely a wide receiver 1 this week and finished, I think, 2nd overall for wide receivers because of how well he played. So he was a huge surprise, according to Yahoo Sports app that was saying, "Oh yeah, wide receiver 3." Yeah, okay, buddy. Do your research next time.
Yeah.
That
might be partly too because of his QB. You know, they just don't know all the time how he's going to do. So he's just not rated as high, and he's not considered like a top tier quite yet. Wide out, but
no, but he
sure.
has been.
I mean, I played him
place
in
of T.Y.
several
Hilton,
leagues.
He's been awesome.
I played him as the flex, though. I can't say I played him as a 1 or 2.
He moved up to wide receiver 2 for me once I heard that
Ridley?
Calvin Ridley was out.
Yeah.
So then I had to move him
Oh,
up.
yeah. Well, then you probably won your week.
I'm close. I need Dalvin Cook here in the last 5 minutes of the Dallas-Minnesota game I'm watching right now. I need Dalvin Cook to not go into the end zone a few times, which I think I might be okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, like those were like some of the biggest ones. Besides, I know, Jake, you and I were talking about this before Zach got on. The Philly running back. And we already kind of mentioned them, but like Boston Scott, who's rostered in 4.5% of leagues, and then Jordan Howard in 0.7%. Boston Scott had, he finished with 18 points, 12 touches, 60 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jordan Howard, 12 touches, 57 yards, and 2 touchdowns as well for 17.7 points. So for the very few people that had them, again, if you played them this week, you got rewarded because Gainwell didn't really do anything, and obviously, I mean, it was interesting, especially to see Philly come out with 44 points. It just was odd week. I know it's against the Detroit, but both of those guys really have done nothing up to this year, and they took advantage of facing 0-8 Detroit.
Wonder if Philly coaching just wanted to troll Detroit and just let them know how bad they were. Like, hey, we'll play our 4th and 5th running back, and I bet you they'll get 2 touchdowns each. It was like a under the table bet with their coaching.
Yeah.
And they're like, you're on. And
we're going to see reports of it over the offseason and stuff.
Yeah.
And we're going to be disbanded from the NFL because of it. Illegal betting.
Yeah, under the table, man, for sure.
That's awesome. All right.
But let's recap. Thanks, Kyle, for those for sure. Bust of the week and buy low candidates. Let's break into that. I'll just say all the busts first because I think the busts are not buy lows necessarily because these guys are pretty big names. Justin Herbert, 13.82 fantasy points, bust. God, I can't wait till we have that button.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers, 15.66 fantasy points. It's a bust for him. Because he's usually like a top 5 potential QB. Jalen Hurts, 11.22 fantasy points. I think that might be his worst of the year.
Yeah, that looks like
he's been averaging over 20. So, and he's been a top 5 QB in fantasy. That's kind of weird that it happened this week. I mean, it was a great matchup. So, but obviously they love those 3 and 4 running backs. So.
This is the first time of him being below 20.5 points. He's been above 20 every single game so far, which is interesting seeing as how, Philly you really don't hear much about because I feel like they just in total aren't playing well. But like he's been playing really well. So like, this is like the lowest of his by a long shot. So especially if you play Jalen Hurts, you're probably probably hurting this week.
Yeah.
You know what? Hurts is a potential. No, he's not a buy low. He's a potential sell high. We'll get back to him. Because I heard they're also looking at that QB from Houston. Philly is.
Oh, yeah.
Deshaun Watson.
Oh, I thought that Houston had agreed to terms with Miami if it was going to happen.
Apparently, Deshaun Watson opened up more. Because originally he was like, it's Miami or bust.
Got it.
Just to go into the keep it with the segment. But now he's open to more teams. Philly's interested, and I read about another team, but that would could potentially kill Hurts' season, which I don't get why they would want to do that. I didn't understand that coming out, but
they would probably send Hurts back.
Yeah,
right?
include it. Yeah, you know what? That's a good take. So, but then that would be worse for him, wouldn't it?
Well, I don't know if
worse
it really
O-line
because he gets those rushing yards. So he'd still probably
get Brandon
good.
Cooks. But yeah, he'd probably be fine.
Will Fuller would come back maybe by that point.
Kyler Murray, 9.06 fantasy points.
Yikes!
But he came out. He was injured after the game, and we talked about that. But still a bust. Kenneth Gainwell, we just talk about him. 2.7 fantasy points. This is a buy low. They've been talking him up forever. They love this guy. It just wasn't his week. A lot of people grabbed him. A lot of people are going to drop him. I think you could just grab him off the waivers now for free. After the waiver period, people drop him for somebody else because they're going to give up. But he's too talented not to come back from that. He's already had bigger games, like way bigger games than this. That's why he was the number 2.
Especially in most leagues, I feel like running backs. I mean, every year running backs are hard, but I feel like especially this year, like it's been. I feel like harder to find a running back on the waivers because I feel like it used to be like last year, like there was like multiple backups that would get used. Guys would get hot. They'd kind of fall out. The next guy would get hot, and there'd always be usually someone you could put in waivers for. Kind of felt like for a while, like weeks 3 through 7, that there was just no running backs that were really worth even putting in for a waiver or even really trusting and putting in your starting lineup because it just didn't seem like there was anyone there to pick up. So especially if he does fall, like you're saying, and he's open, I mean, grab him because you can never have too many because you never know when injuries are going to hit, especially in the running back position.
Right.
Yeah, and it's a potential free grab, like you're not competing with waivers because he might just fall after. So, yeah, it really sucks if you played him like me, but there's going to be better days ahead. They're not going to stick with Jordan Howard and Scott. I mean, I'll die on that sword. That's fine. I just don't see it. I mean, Jordan Howard was their guy 4 years ago, right? I mean, 3 years ago.
3 years ago,
and then that ran out. Antonio Gibson, 5.4 bust. He's still dealing with that shin issue, but I think he's still a buy low with top 10 upside rest of the season. He's had a couple bad weeks because of that shin issue, but he's playing through it. Still healing, obviously, because otherwise the team wouldn't be playing him. What do you guys think?
I mean, I think he's a very risky start every week, I feel like, just because I'd be very skeptical of playing him every week when, he's dealing with an injury like that. I mean...
Yeah, but you're the one trying to trade for him, right? So the guy, whoever owns him, is probably frustrated, like you're saying, and they might be willing to give him for cheap. And that's why I think it's a steal.
Yeah, it could be, but I still think there's a lot of risk in that, even if you're giving up, not a lot. Well, if you weren't giving up a lot, maybe it wouldn't be as bad. But I mean, he's a hit away from a season-ending injury like every week.
Oh, that's any football player, right?
Yeah, but especially one dealing with something like that.
Issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they wouldn't. If it was really bad, they wouldn't let him play. We talked about it last week.
We say that, but is that really the case, though? I mean, we don't really know if that is the case.
It's their future running back, though.
Yeah.
But usually, I mean, they used to give players more take on it, but now they just don't anymore because the players just want to play and play through it. And now I feel like they shut them down more.
Well, they're
these
too
medical
expensive.
Teams, yeah,
they're too expensive to have
that's
to
the
have
money.
out an injured. Like, and then they get out. I mean, so for example, you look at like Tariq Cohen for the Bears, right? Goes down, he gets an ACL last year. He's still not back. It's been over a year since his ACL, and he's still not back here, and he's still getting delayed. So, we think of injuries like, maybe season ending, he'll be back like first game of the season. But that's not always the case. You look at a big playmaker like Cohen is. He's using a lot of RPO packages and stuff for the Bears, and he's still not back. So you never know. I don't know. I mean, again, when you have a guy like that has a high ceiling, they look very enticing. If you can get them for cheap and get them for someone that you don't mind losing, or end up if you're lucky in your league and they're on waivers, you're able to get them through waivers, then great. Then you have them on the bench. But just always have that in the back of your head, like, I don't know, today could be the day. But like you said, I mean, that could be for any player. But I feel like if they're a high ceiling and you have the opportunity, I say go for it, especially with how kind of scarce good free agents and pickups are right now.
I'm just kind of wondering why he keeps playing every week, and when he is diagnosed with a hairline fracture as a running back. I mean, legs are the most powerful tool you use, right? That just seems scary to me. I don't know why he keeps playing every week if he really has something like that going on. It's just. But he keeps doing decent. I mean, 5.4 is the worst he's done in a little while. Yeah. He's been playing through it and playing fine, but I don't know. I honestly, because I own Antonio Gibson in another league, I'm kind of feeling like if a trade package was decent, just get him off my hands and stop worrying about him. I might be looking at him more as like
you're the owner, and I'm the guy who wants him.
Yeah, so that might actually work. Definitely could work as a buy low for sure.
All right, you guys will have to update us next week if you actually make the trade go through or not in the fantasy league.
I don't
Yeah.
think. Am I in that league with you, Zach? Is that another one of our leagues?
Yeah, that's your office league.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
You'll have to keep the fans updated. I'm sure they're going to want to know.
No, it's the office league, so they'll call collusion or some shit.
And
Yeah, right,
and then
sure.
in the third league we're in, not the family league, but the other league we're in, Deanna has Antonio Gibson, and I a couple weeks ago had her pick up J.D. McKissick just in case something ever happens to Gibson. J.D. McKissick will be like a top ad for sure.
They both did bad this week, though, so I don't think it's an injury thing necessarily.
Yeah, but
I think it's just a Washington thing.
If Antonio Gibson ends up getting hurt, McKissick will get all the snaps and he'll,
Well, and it was also against Denver, who has one of the best defenses so far this year, especially through the air. So then, when you have a backfield like they do that can, Heineke, who has had some really good games, but didn't do a whole lot. And, then you can focus on your front seven shutting down the run game, which I feel like is kind of exactly what happened. They call it, I don't know. It's one of those teams where, I know that I for sure left. I was looking for a quarterback this week because Lamar Jackson's on bye, and I passed over Heineke because he went to Denver, and I was like, I don't trust you against that defense, and for good reason. They're tough. They're tough to play against. So
yeah,
I don't know. I don't think picking up McKissick's a bad idea, just because if Gibson goes down, man. I mean, they use him a lot, so I feel like if you have McKissick and you have a spot on your bench and he's still available and you can grab him. Never necessarily a bad idea if you have the room. If you're just looking for someone just to keep just in case and you have a spot,
definitely
never
a
hurts
handcuff
to hold. For sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a bust. Do you guys want me to tell you a bust that I have?
Let's hear it.
I'm a little upset about this one. Not that I have him in a league, but Devontae Smith for Philly wide receiver.
Yeah.
He's taken in 87.2% of leagues in a game where they won 44-6 against Detroit. Detroit is the worst in the NFL. They give up 10.8 yards per target. So they are literally the worst passing defense in the NFL. That's huge yards. He went 1 for 3, 15 yards for 2.5 points on full PPR. Out of any of the games, and Devontae Smith, he's a Heisman, and he's played well. He's played decent.
He's had good games this year.
Out of any of the games that I thought that he was going to come out and be huge, it's a game where you're going up against Detroit. But what was shocking to me and what worries me about anything in Philly at 44-6 against Detroit with the worst passing defense, Jalen Hurts still couldn't get it going through the air. They had to rely on the running backs to get 4 touchdowns, and Jalen Hurts couldn't get much going at all.
Yeah,
and that's worrisome, and that's probably why they're looking at Deshaun Watson, just in case, seeing what they can get for him. Not that I think Jalen Hurts is a bad quarterback. Devontae Smith's a bust. I have him as a bust for me just because I expected so much more of this game, to be completely honest.
They have the GOAT on the bench as the backup quarterback, Philly. They have Gardner Minshew. So,
who did come out for a run. I think actually he was positive in points. He was more than 0, I think, because I think they did an RPO or something and he ran. Hold on. I'll look it up.
No, the GOAT is on the Jets bench now.
True. Let's be honest. Mike White.
No, Joe Flacco.
Oh, you're talking about Flacco. Listen, I thought we were talking about the next Tom Brady in Mike White.
Joe
who
Flacco's
sounds like a
back,
name out of.
and he's loving it.
Oh my gosh!
I'm sure he was so excited.
Yeah, no. You haven't seen the picture of him at the press conference?
Oh no, was he totally scowling?
He just he just looks like he hates everything. I think that's the official he knows it's over look.
Yeah,
that's
I feel bad that he's gone down, man. He was so good with Baltimore, and then he just kind of fell off. I feel like that's kind of the same route that Big Ben's taking now. Big Ben's really dropping in his.
Oh, Big Ben's a Hall of Famer. Joe Flacco's not a Hall of Famer.
No, agree with you there. But I'm saying that same path that Flacco went down, I feel like Big Ben is also, which we could talk about. Later. But I don't know. I feel like Flacco, he's got a lot of experience, obviously Super Bowl win and everything, but Man, I don't know. You wonder what goes through their head, and how much of it is in their mind versus like actually like physically they can't do it anymore. It's got to be in his head that this is where I used to be, this is where I am now. What the heck's wrong with me? That's at least what I would be doing if I was in the NFL and had a fall from grace like he did. So
yeah,
for sure. My next bust, since we kind of got off the rails there, but that's fine. I love it. Is Dalvin Cook? There's only 1 minute left. He's only got 7.8 fantasy points right now,
and he doesn't even have the ball. It's the Cowboys in the red zone.
That's a bust for a fully healthy offense against. I mean, I know people have been pretty high in Dallas' defense the rest of the way, so I guess you get somewhat of a pass, but it's still a guy you drafted top 5.
Who saw that turnaround coming? The Dallas defense going from worst to top 10. I don't think nobody saw that coming. How about, and then they got the next like Hall of Fame cornerback on that team. What's he got? 7 to 8 interceptions already?
Yeah, Diggs. Yeah,
it's insane,
dude. It's insane. And I haven't been paying a whole ton of attention to the game. I got it on, but like I haven't seen if he's gotten one today.
Yeah, it has more catches than Cole Kmet. Like what the heck?
Dude, I know he almost had one earlier. He's a ball hawk. He's the definition of a ball hawk. Like when you talk about a guy that just knows where the ball is going to go and how to put himself in the right position, like he's there, and it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, he's fun to watch on defense. There's not a lot of cornerbacks that you say are fun to watch.
No, but I agree with you. I think he is.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're off again. Jake, who else you got for busts?
No, I'm enjoying it, dude. Leonard Fournette, 4.3 bust, so his first bad week in almost a month. Yeah. And he was our sell. God, if you didn't, hopefully you got to trade him. He was our sell high for the past 3 weeks. We just kept saying it. So.
He's been an obvious sell high for a while. I mean,
but now you might not be able to.
Yeah, but he'll probably have some more good weeks where he still could be. I mean, there's still like 10 weeks left. Him.
If he had a month though of these good games, it would be the best sell high ever. 3 weeks is pretty good.
I can't remember. Did you have Amari Cooper on the busts?
No? I didn't add him because the game was still going on.
I would say he just scored a touchdown, so if he's there, scratch him off the list.
No, he's not. Yeah, I was waiting.
I don't know how it went with CD Lamb, but I kind of had him. I didn't start him in one of my leagues this week just because I figured Prescott wasn't
good with Prescott.
He only does good with Prescott. I mean, look how CD Lamb did last year when he was out. His numbers went down the crapper, but always plays great with Prescott. But I don't know. That's just like his guy or something. I don't.
Sure. I mean, he had a good night. He had a good night tonight. So I have him up here right now. He was 6 for 8 for 112 yards.
Oh, okay.
I know in our.
That's pretty good.
There he is, CeeDee Lamb, 17.2 points.
So, geez.
Okay, he did good.
I mean, you're talking about a quarterback like Rush coming in, who's so different from Dak Prescott. I feel like it's good. It's also Minnesota. I feel like their defense is very hit or miss, and I feel like for me this was a true test of the Cowboys because last year, especially when Dak went down, the Cowboys fell apart, and they were saying
that was like the heart and soul of the team was just gone.
Well, totally. And so my thought was they keep saying like they're a deep contender, which I agree. They've been playing great. But my thing was now that
Prescott's there and healthy, they are.
If he's there and healthy. So I was curious to see how this game was going to go, without Dak in. Are they just going to implode like they did last year?
Yeah.
But 51 seconds is left in the fourth quarter, and they're going out to try and kick the extra point to make it a 21-16 game.
So they got it wrapped up, kind of.
Yeah. Oh, no. So 20-16, they just kicked it off. So Vikings will have the ball back with 51 seconds and no timeouts. Let's see what old Kirky boy can do on the way up the field.
By the way,
Kirky boy,
Kirk Cousins. I don't know.
We're now calling him Kirky boy.
Kirky boy.
There is no Kirk Cousins.
So, I don't know. Tell me if you guys feel the same, but whenever I think of Kirk Cousins, I'm like, okay, he's average. He's not anything special. But then you look at his stats every season, and he's like over 30 touchdowns, over 4,000 yards, and you're like, huh. I would not have guessed that, but he's like one of the most consistent, good quarterbacks every season. He's like always like
he's
top
like an
12.
average.
You know, he's in the top. He's always in the top 12 stats wise. Maybe not fantasy wise, but like overall, like touchdowns and yards.
Gotcha.
Always really good. It's like I don't know. I never really think about him as like a 4,000 yard, 30 touchdown quarterback, but he is every season.
You draft him next year, and
that's weird. Sure. I don't know. It's just strange.
Hey, you could pick him up off of waivers. He's
dude.
He's available in 64.3% of leagues right now.
Don't even draft the QB. New strat. Just grab a guy after the draft.
Yeah, fantasy points and quarterbacks are weird because there's quarterbacks that have good seasons, like in actual NFL terms, but like not great fantasy wise. It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I agree.
all these guys running, all these young kids running these days, really ruining it for quarterbacks like Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, dude.
You don't need yourself too much there, Zach. Man. All right. I have a whole year bust. Are you ready for this?
Sure.
I have a bust that I'm saying it has been a bust so far and will continue to be a bust the rest of the way. Not all to be his fault, but I'm going to go out on a limb right now and say it. Trevor Lawrence, quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think is going to be a bust for this entire season.
Really?
And again, not all due to his fault. You have a coach who was shocked. I mean, he said, you got Urban Meyer who's saying, oh, well, it's like we're playing Alabama every week. Well, what do you think this was? College still? Like, this is the NFL. Like, these are professionals. Like, that's how you have to prepare, Urban. Yeah. I don't know if you know that or not. It's not going to be a cakewalk like it was at OSU for you. Right. But, like, he just continues to not be protected. His receivers continue to not really be able to catch balls. They had a bunch of drops today. And because of all of that, plus the fact that he's not really shown that he can do a whole lot with his legs, I mean, we were expecting him to be able to be running up and down the field, and he's shown that he can't really move too well so far.
He's a skinny little guy. I feel like he's a hit away from like the hospital room. Like
him and Gibson.
I don't know. No, Lawrence. Trevor.
No,
Lawrence.
I said him and Gibson.
Oh yeah.
True. Just get the ambulances ready. Have like the stretchers on the sideline.
Trevor Lawrence has still been the best rookie fantasy wise though this so far, hasn't he? Quarterback.
I don't.
Mac Jones.
So. Mac Jones has been up there. I mean, I think that just the rest of the way with who they're going to have to face, and I don't know. I just don't think that he's going to be someone that I'm going to be dropping.
Yeah.
He's only taken up in 34.4% of leagues, and that's just because he's just too low scoring and everything. And obviously, again, it's the team,
right.
Going on Jacksonville, who just you would think when they're going to draft the number one, the rest of their draft picks would be O-lineman or someone to protect them and stuff. And I feel like they just I don't know if I hope Jacksonville can get it together, because this is supposed to be like the next guy in the NFL, and he just has not been so far. So maybe that's partially to expectation of what he's supposed to be. But I think for me, I don't think that there's any situation, any team that he'd go up against to where I'd say, yeah, I think I'll start Lawrence this week, especially after today, because I did start him today and he went 238 yards, a touchdown and an interception. They lost 31-7. And in our half a point PPR, he only got 12.6 points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just like one of those guys, especially like if you drafted him or you picked him off of waivers like early in the year, like thinking like maybe he'll break out, because that's what Lamar Jackson did. His rookie year, Lamar broke way out. So you expect him like maybe this guy will do the same, and he just hasn't. So personally, I see someone I'm moving off of, but
I think that's a good one.
So my opinion. Probably unpopular.
Especially now he just lost his stud running back, possibly. Who knows, how long.
Absolutely. So now it gets put more on him and receivers who drop the ball and an O-line who can't protect him. So I feel like I think just the rest of the season, the opponents they're going to face and all of that, I just don't feel like he's ever going to be someone that I can trust to ever really start. I feel like if I need a quarterback, I'll just stream one every week based on matchup instead of just relying with him on my bench.
Yeah.
Personal opinion. Don't hate me. Don't at me on Twitter for my opinion of my whole year. All right,
you even have Twitter?
No, I don't. If people comment though and want to complain, I will make a Twitter so that they can at me and complain about me. That's fine because I want to read it.
Oh my god.
The other bust that I had down here, the reffing in Tampa Bay versus New Orleans. They made 2 horrible roughing the passer calls in the second quarter that honestly turned the tide to the Saints because it was a close game, and then they went down the field after both of those penalties and scored a touchdown.
Jeez.
And then came back out on the defense, shut down Tom Brady. I mean, the reffing was horrible. They called 2 roughing the passer, and the one of them, his hand came up. He first of all got his helmet ripped off from a face mask. His hand hit the top of his shoulder pad, not his helmet at all, and they still called it roughing the passer. Even though this dude's head is like twisted all the way around from the face mask. They didn't call that, but they called them tapping him on the top of the shoulder pad. So for me, it's a bust for the reffing in Tampa Bay and New Orleans. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, totally agree with you. Let me run through the rest of these busts real quick.
Yeah, sorry, you go. My bad.
DeAndre Swift 3.1 bust. Derrick Henry 6.8 bust. Yeah, I guess the tank runs out of gas sometimes.
Yeah.
Don't know what else to say about him. That's a killer. You might have lost for a week.
Haas will be back at it next week.
Yeah, he'll be back. DeAndre Hopkins 6.6 bust. DJ Moore was a bust. He's had a month of bad weeks, and we talked about this last week, but Carolina as a whole is kind of
they've been busting as a team. Yeah.
So is he? We talked about it last week. Is he still a buy low then?
I think he's still a buy low because
you trust in the team enough.
Well, I don't know. I think this is to be determined because we need to see what the injury is with Darnold. Because he has the chemistry with Darnold. I don't know who their backup is.
It was the first month of amazing play, top 5 wide out.
But PJ
last month is
the guy
very
from
mediocre.
The Arena League, the backup.
Okay.
So maybe DJ Moore will still be decent with that guy.
So would you still buy low?
I think I'd still buy low. Yeah, I like DJ Moore. He's got a lot of talent. He could. There's still 9 weeks left. 8 games. Or is it 9 games left? There's still plenty of weeks that this guy can go off again like he was.
Yeah, Kyle, what do you think?
He gets targets. I mean, so you're looking at his targets. I know they're all with Darnold, but I mean, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games out of 8 where he's gotten 10 or more targets. So he's getting the ball thrown in his direction.
Yeah, the volume is there.
Volume is there.
You're getting you're buying him low. You're getting a team's number 1 wide receiver. So I mean, that's still
correct.
I think that's worth
what
it.
Do you
Always
think,
worth
what
it.
do you think? Offer Calvin Ridley or
that could be I don't know.
No, I think if anything, you offer Michael Thomas for him.
That could be a good
oh
one.
my god! Yeah, how about both?
How about both? Yeah, there you go. There we go.
But
no, it's kind of situational because he is a number 1, so it might be a high price. And if you have good running backs and you need a wide receiver, it's worth it. I mean, to make a package.
Yeah,
I think so.
Definitely situational.
The opportunities are there for production, which the targets is huge. If they're throwing him the ball, I mean, you're right. He's been off for the past 4 games, although the 2 games before this one, he had 8.4 and then 10.3 points on our half point PPR. He's probably above 10 on both of those then with full PPR. So, I don't know. I say if you can get, I think for sure buy low. I think he's, especially RB1, like Zach was saying, RB1, try and get him if you can.
Right.
Sure. And the rest of these, I am just going to run by you guys. So, Zach Moss, 5.8 fantasy points. I still think he's a buy low. We've been talking about it for a couple weeks now.
I still like him on that team.
Yeah.
Over Devin Singletary. I think he gets more of the targets and stuff now, and targets more of the run.
Yeah.
More of the shares or whatever. More of the play packages. I think they like him more. He's more usable. He can catch passes. He is powerful. They can use him at the goal line. I think you're getting a number one running back. Well, like a 1A, because Singletary is like a 1B. They kind of use both of them.
Yeah.
But I like Moss more. I think he has more upside. So I still think that there's good weeks ahead for him on that offense because he can catch passes.
For sure. Kyle?
Especially in a PPR league.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's the, like you said, that's the bigger part of where he's at. I feel like he's in a lot of those passing packages. So like today, he had 39 receiving yards and he had 6 receptions. Like that's huge. Right. If you're doing the full PPR, then just in the passing alone, he's getting points. 6.9 points just alone from the catches and receptions, right, which is better than some of these other guys that we were talking about. Finishing better than Derrick Henry this week. So having a guy like that in a high-powered offense like the Bills, never a bad idea, especially in PPR. Obviously, non-PPR, it's maybe a different story, but
yeah, I don't know about that because these running backs. That's why I feel like Moss, like Singletary and Moss, they're decent running backs. I don't think they're the running backs in the league. I feel like they need help. They need a lot of blocking when they have good games. But Zach Moss, though, used in the red zone, he's more powerful. I don't think Moss or Singletary has a great yards per carry, though. But I just like Moss because he can catch those passes. Just has more opportunity to get your points that way.
Right.
So I feel like he would be a good buy low because he's most likely, somebody's third running back that they're playing in a flex every week,
Correct.
Yeah,
that could be a trade that you could actually get to go through, I would believe.
Yeah, he's a little bit easier to get than Antonio Gibson.
And there's plenty of upside still there,
Yeah, it doesn't have a hairline fracture.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's good.
He's
For
two
sure.
hits. He's 2 hits away from an injury, not 1 hit. So.
Yeah. For sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So here's one I want to run by you, and I'll just get into it. James Robinson. So we have to wait to see.
I only know
what
Smokey Robinson. But...
Oh my God.
Smokey Robinson.
But James Robinson, we'll see what the injury is. If he's going to be fine, whoever owns him won't trade him. But say he is going to miss a couple weeks, I think he's a buy low because if you're a top tier team and you want a running back for the future, for the playoffs, I think you could offer some active players to a team still fighting for a playoff spot.
And honestly, I'm a James Robinson owner in a league. Actually, the league the three of us are in together. I have Robinson. If he's going to miss a couple of weeks, I will trade with you for sure. Because my team is full, my injuries are starting to stack up. So honestly, we can't have 6 IR spots.
Yeah. Well, when you're picking up injured players, it's going to stack up for sure.
Listen there, buddy.
No. No, I was laughing at your 6 because it's true though. But because we're seeing a lot of these RB1s who are getting injured or are who are questionable week to week. I mean, you got Dalvin Cook, who's basically been week on, week off with an injury. I think it was his ankle. You got James Robinson now, who's now we got to see what's up with him. I mean, there's just a lot of these guys that were drafted to be these RB1s, and they're starting to fall through. So now you're panicking. Okay, where do I get these next guys from? So it's I agree. I feel like if you can afford to sell them, try and see if maybe you can get someone else that you can plug in, because you never know. I mean, they could come out in the next few days and say, this is a multi-week injury, and then obviously his stock drops. So obviously watching closely and trying to see what you can do from, obviously for sure something to mind.
Possibly good trade, Saquon Barkley for Robinson and maybe a DJ Moore or something. That might be an interesting trade package.
I feel like that would be interesting.
We talked about Saquon last week because he was still a couple weeks away. Now, if owners held him this long and he's about to come back possibly next Sunday, I don't think they're going to trade.
Yeah,
they've been holding him this whole time.
But that's what I get though as a James Robinson owner. I get that instant karma because I had a free IR spot. I'm like, oh, my team's perfectly healthy. I'm going to pick up Michael Thomas and just put him on my last IR spot. I don't have to worry about injuries. And then here we go. The floodgates are open. The football gods were like, we gotta put this guy in his place.
He's picking up a wide receiver who's going to be on IR for at least another few weeks. Like, all right, we got to calm him down.
Yeah.
Which I had him on my list for this week as like possible like grab if you have like an IR spot available and stuff. But the reports are kind of coming out that where it's still going to be another couple weeks. Which
yeah,
again,
that's why I dropped him.
It's hard. It's so hard because you know that he's going to come back and he's going to make a difference, and he's for sure going to
probably have 15 catches his first game. It'll be crazy,
and it will be. And we because we come to expect it from him, but it's like I don't know. Again, holding if you can hold him and you have the space for him, then why not? But
yeah,
if you're running out of the space and everything, he's got another few weeks on injury, is what Schefter had said. About a week ago. So, I mean, if you need the spots, then I'd say drop him because he's going to be staying on IR for at least another little while. So,
yeah. So James Robinson, hopefully he doesn't change his name to Achilles Robinson because that heel, I don't know. We just got to see what the diagnosis is there. But hopefully he doesn't miss too much time.
Hopefully not. I really hope not.
So next up is Kyle Pitts. This is your last window to get a potential top 3 finish tight end because he had a really bad week against Carolina, and right before that he had 2 amazing weeks.
Yeah.
And the first 4 weeks were not good. So, but now that Calvin Ridley's gone, they're going to have to use him more. I don't know what happened this Carolina game. It's maybe just like the news of Ridley being gone just shook the team a bit and messed up their game plan. But the rest of the way, Kyle Pitts is the number one like throw to guy, I think.
Yeah.
And
I like that as a buy low a lot. That's a good one.
This is your last chance to get him. It's going to be a little pricey.
I have an interesting trade offer
for a tight end, but
for him. Like maybe
because I have him.
Maybe you could maybe you could trade Zach Ertz for him.
Oh my god! All right, well, we could talk after. But I think this is just anybody listening. It's your last chance.
No, I'm just putting that out there. That
resume.
Might be a good trade offer, not just for us, for anybody. Like Zach Ertz for Kyle Pitts might be a decent one.
Nobody would probably take that. But
you don't think so?
I'd probably stay with Pitts, especially now knowing about Ridley. I think
it'd have to be if you're going to include Ertz, you'd have to do a combo deal.
Okay,
I agree. Zach Ertz has a lot of upside.
Pretty good.
I agree, and I think he's got a lot of upside. I just don't think I'd get rid of Kyle Pitts because some of these catches that Kyle Pitts is making, especially now that he's now going to be up the food chain now a spot with Ridley gone for who knows how long, probably the rest of the season. It's like, I don't know. I don't know if I would if I would do a 1-for-1 trade like that. I feel like there'd have to be something else in it.
Okay.
That's just maybe again, just me. Don't at me on Twitter.
Maybe that would be a better one for our next guy then. Maybe that would be a more fair trade.
Yeah,
1-for-1.
I also have Noah Fant on here. Another tight end that's a buy low. He scored 0.8.
Oh, he scored 8 fantasy points. That's great, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, 0.8. No. Okay, never mind. He sucks.
I think this is a good window. He's definitely, I think, going to finish top 10. But he's not going to finish top 5 probably. But it's still a guy, if you don't have a decent tight end and maybe you still have a Buffalo tight end out, I think this is a guy you go for.
This is far worse than he's historically been.
Yeah.
He's normally a guy you view as maybe not the highest ceiling, but he's got that high floor where he'll always get you 7 pretty much every week,
Yeah.
He's kind of that guy, which, you usually can get him super late, and you'll take 7 every week if you can stack up at other positions. You'll take
Absolutely,
7 every week from Noah Fant. This is definitely historically bad. I would think that this is not the norm for him, so I think he'd be this is the perfect time to try and buy low on him after a week like that.
I agree, especially usually in all leagues, but I feel it's especially this year how just touchdown dependent they are. I feel like he gets points even without the touchdowns. Like he gets those targets, and he's using the offense a lot. So that's always valuable in my opinion. So I totally agree, buy low.
Yeah.
For sure. If you guys have more buy lows, just say them now because that was the end of my list.
Nope, you hit the 2 that I had on mine, so I'm good there.
Yeah, I think we hit who I was thinking about too. All right, everyone, we're just going to cut it here. This is the end of part 1. We had such a good time with Kyle that we just went over our time a little bit, but it's okay. There's going to be part 2 coming out tomorrow, so be sure to listen for that. And we'll still have a bunch of good stuff to listen for tomorrow, including Scoop 'em Up and everything. So thank you all for listening, and listen for part 2 coming out tomorrow. See y'all later.